Like, seriously, where has everybody gone? Since the dawn of time, YouTube has been locked in a never-ending battle to the death with every single other form of content consumption. I mean, back in the earliest days of the platform, it would have been unheard of to imagine one of your favourite YouTubers or creators reaching the heady heights of traditional television. But now we've all had this collectively burnt into our brains. So I guess there's hope for us all. Whereas traditional forms of media can give audiences bigger spectacles, bigger budgets, and Matthew McConaughey, YouTube strives to provide that unwavering sense of connection with the creators, that feeling of authenticity you just can't get anywhere else, and I guess, me? Breaking news, YouTube as a company ceases to exist today. A source close to the incident has been quoted as saying, "All the viewers straight up left. We don't know where they've gone." You may have noticed in recent months we've seen a huge number of individuals packing their bags and leaving the platform in search of something more, something different. And whilst this video won't focus too heavily on the likes of Matt, Pat, Tom, Scott or Hannah Witten, who all left their respective main channels to do something else entirely and actually
experience life. Oh my god.
Ignore him, he'll survive. I'm instead going to hone in on that select bunch of dum-dums who decided to fly a little too close to the sun and balance the scales a little bit. For every Bo Burnham, you have a Logan Paul. For every Joseph Pelling and Becky Sloan, you have a Lily Singh and Mr. Beast. And for every dropout / college humour, you have a, hang on. I truly cannot remember the next line, and it seems the rest of my script was put behind a paywall. Well, fuck. Authenticity. You'd be forgiven for readily associating this word with yogurt adverts more than the billowing fires of philosophical debate, but the definition of the word authenticity is a hotly contested topic amongst various philosophical branches, with each believing in a slightly different way for an individual to live each day authentically or to be truly authentic. The grandpapa of authenticity goes by the name of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, well known as the originator of the modern discourse on authenticity. His stance sat on the precipice of two states, the distinction between the natural state of man and its socialised version. The natural state was inherently good, while the socialised state was perceived as the root cause of most human societal and moral problems. Opposed to living true to themselves, the social man lives outside of himself. He only knows how to live in the opinion of others. Basically Jake Paul. Now you may be sitting there thinking, why has he started waffling about a bunch of philosophical mumbo jumbo? I didn't know he was so well read, interesting and cool. But for some reason this magical little world is one of the main reasons that many YouTubers in the past and Watcher in the present have all failed to leave the site that gave them their fame to begin with. Come with me a sec, I'll show you what I mean. The very idea of YouTubers leaving this sorry little platform behind and making the perilous leap into the big wide world of mainstream media is absolutely nothing new. It was always destined to happen. Whether in the form of a TV show, a chat show full of boring guests that was now going to be on TV, a reality TV show. Yeah, I just think Devon's a bit of a prick. A film so bad it couldn't even make it to TV. What do you mean? The president's uncle's brother, sister's friend's cousin's dog is in danger. We need to keep Sir Woofington safe because every dog needs to have its day.
Every dog needs to have its day. And Cinemas Friday.
YouTubers were always finding new ways to keep us guessing and flex their creative muscles and finally break free from the algorithmic nightmare that is this platform and find a totally real job on this nightmare of a platform instead. I mean, if you go up to someone who exclusively makes ha-ha jokes in their bedroom with enough comedically sized pirate doubloons in a totally not suspicious looking briefcase, who isn't going to turn that opportunity down? And just in case somebody out there is watching at home as some totally real and not defunct pirate currency just laying around, you can leave it here. This is definitely my house and not a funny place one of my friends found on Google Images. In comparison to the boring, stinky formats of traditional television and mainstream media, YouTube has always placed itself as this real, authentic alternative. With one of the site's oldest slogans, broadcast yourself, implying how every person on this app is just as boring as stupid as you or me. Like, think what I'm doing right now. I'm looking right at you. You are looking into, this is where I sleep. This is my house. That's quite weird, isn't it? How often does that happen in any other format? Horatio, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's over between us. I'm seeing other people.
How could you do this to me? You said I was the only automaton for you.
How often do they look like straight down the barrel of the lens? It's always over here. What's so important that's over here? Unless it's in more relaxed environments, one of the main goals of mainstream media is to put up a barrier between what's going on here and you shoving Cheetos in your gob sitting upside down on your sofa. But YouTube just absolutely annihilates that magical little fourth wall, allowing for a more intimate, authentic connection between the creators and you, the audience, allowing for one dum-dum to talk to that dum-dum. As stated by Roy Zetchun, the head of culture and trends for Google, people are looking for intimate content, that sense of connection. They don't care if it feels a little bit rough around the edges. Now, one of the main reasons that Watcher, yes, we're still talking about them, we just have to go on a tiny philosophical detour first, that I'm sure there'll only be like 5 or 10 more throughout the majority of this video. One of the main reasons that Watcher decided to say goodbye to YouTube was, in their words, because of...
But it feels like we are just at the point where we've hit a bit of a ceiling in terms of what YouTube is able to offer.
YouTube is no longer the place for that.
Watcher consistently make reference to this point, how YouTube no longer gives them what they want from a platform anymore. They want to have space to do things a little bit more traditionally, and streaming would give them the chance to do that.
Everyone has different missions they're marching towards on YouTube. Ours was to make a television show. Nobody had quite done that. Full-blown developed shows had not been kind of a thing on YouTube to that point.
But just because you're the first person to do something doesn't mean it's inherently the right thing. Like, think about it. Someone was the first person to make me, or Elon Musk. Like, what were they thinking? Watcher don't release content sporadically. They release it in seasons. So let's say for a 2-month span, you're only going to be getting content from one specific show, like Puppet History or Ghost Files. Sometimes you get numerous shows on rotation in the off seasons, but most of the time it sticks to this strict formula, which is more in line with what's done on the magical little box, so I guess the shift to streaming makes more sense. But the thing is with traditional television is that they don't only release one specific show. HBO doesn't only make Home of the Scaly People, they put up other shows in the gaps between those episodes. Why are they limiting themselves to the upload schedule and regulations of an entirely different platform and then using that as an excuse for why they had to leave the platform that they're currently posting on? It makes no sense. It's like saying the skills you learned in your introductory driver's ed courses didn't help you round the chicanes of Monaco.
Because it's not what people are expecting.
I feel like you get like 1 or 2 types of content on a channel. Yeah. Otherwise, it starts to feel kind of clunky.
Yeah, look, I blame YouTube for calling them channels.
Yeah.
Because then the whole industry starts to think it's like a TV channel where you'll have different shows with different hosts. But they're not channels, they're shows. And now the algorithm learns that every time you upload, people aren't necessarily going to click. So let's stop promoting them. You hurt yourself.
Like, I can respect the ambition for wanting to do that and challenge yourself and grow as a company, but if it's not working on YouTube and conversely you can't afford to do it, why are you still doing it?
It does cost a certain amount. Like, for example, a Ghost Files episode. First, we have to travel to the location itself. We have to pay the location fee. We have to pay freelance staff that comes to help us shoot that when we're shooting in the studio. We have to pay for the studio to shoot the actual episode in. Then we have to pay for post. Before that, we also have to do the pre-production of the episode. And when you add that all up, we're talking about an end of the season that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No one is solely watching a video on YouTube because it reminds them of television. YouTube is a form of escapism from television. People want authenticity. They want something different. They don't care how many focus rings your camera has or how many assistant editors you have. And I can say that because I was one. I'm not saying that every channel on YouTube should do that. By means, do whatever you want to do to make your content better in your eyes. But I'm saying it shouldn't be the main reason for creating content on the site, with this sentiment being absolutely echoed throughout the majority of this video's top comments. Going back to that Roy Zetchun quote from earlier, the reason so many people flock to this site is because of that sense of connection, the feeling of realism or authenticity. There's even a part in this video where you can see they have this realization.
Television show. And, you know, over time, you start to realize, like, hey, maybe television shows aren't meant for YouTube.
Yes, this is the lesson to be learned here. You almost had the case cracked. This is one of the reasons why not just Watcher, but a majority of YouTubers that I'm going to talk about for the rest of this video fail when they make the transition into mainstream media. They lose that sense of connection with their audience. It's also why I'm starting to get a little bit worried about the current state of YouTube. As the site has scaled to such unfathomable lengths and creators have gotten bigger and better at what they're doing, we've sort of started to get lost in the machine a little bit. Content is sort of becoming like production line made by the numbers nonsense, all to appease a bunch of kids and bots, all in a combined effort to push their latest line of cereal, energy drinks and chocolate bars. And while we're here, don't forget to become a member of this channel. Please don't. Like, truly please don't. It'd be so much more effort for me. I'm not saying that we're eternally doomed and the platform is in ruin. There's so many people producing great content on a consistent basis. But if there's so many people producing great content, you would have to imagine that there's also people producing content.
This is my old Feastables chocolate bar, and as you know, it tastes better than a Hershey's bar.
fastest growing sports drink in history.
Our sour strips have 80% less sugar, and I think they taste even more.
Energy. Prime Energy is 10 calories.
Oh my god, there's so much.
Like you were saying, a lot of YouTube feels sort of homogenous now. It feels like everything is sort of being boiled down to the same sorts of templates, and you kind of see the same stuff everywhere. And it's kind of sad that some of that homegrown sort of organic feel to it is gone.
I'm reminded of a story by Sherry Turkle, who states that when the animal kingdom first opened in Orlando, populated by the real, that is, biological animals, its first visitors complained that they were not as real as the animatronic creatures in other parts of Disney World. The robotic creatures slapped their tails and rolled their eyes, the biological crocodiles kept to themselves. Matthew Potolsky once said that the lure of the authentic is implicit acknowledgement that we live in a world of fakes and simulations, that the real is a vanishing quality needing the protection of a museum. This aligns with a different philosophical take on authenticity, that of a postmodernist school of thought. Postmodernist thinkers believe that the very idea of the authentic or the real no longer exists within our modern day society, with it instead being founded upon ideas of superficiality and fakeness that permeate all aspects of life. God, I sound like I know what I'm talking about when I absolutely do not. Consequently, this absence of authenticity leads to an increased wish for an authentic experience that is not achievable. As Daniel Schultz affirms, in a society where people demand the authentic or the real, the genuinely real may not be genuine enough anymore. A lot of the content present within the current state of YouTube falls prey to this particular conundrum. It presents itself as authentic or real, but when you look underneath the hood, whoa, this is bigger than I expected. You see that it's been painstakingly manufactured to maximize viewer engagement, viewer retention, all as a way to help sell an obscene amount of merchandise and confectionery. We're at a point where the line between audience member and consumer has become thinner and thinner, almost to the point where it is indistinguishable. Creators are consistently pushing cereal, chocolate bars, merch, energy drinks, makeup, toys, streaming services, as they all inch closer and closer to leaving the very platform that gave them their start in the first place. But why? Due to the ever-changing nature of YouTube, creators have been struggling to keep up, mainly for 3 reasons. One is that due to the immense success of TikTok, YouTube felt that they had to push hard into short-form content, and because of that, our homepages are now full of AI garbage that look like this. Why'd I go all northern? Look like this? 2, the algorithm. The very thought sends shivers down my spines. And 3, Mr. Beast. James Donaldson sits in this peculiar void between the worlds of reality and entertainment, with content that once started as a fresh, new take on popular styles available on the platform. But due to its success and the sheer amount of clones trying to mimic his stylings, it is now morphed into a parodic amalgamation of its own tired formats and cliches, desperately wishing to be put down. In some ways, it's similar to a well-known format in the big wide world of traditional television, reality TV. Although reality television may market itself as, well, reality, the reality it presents within those worlds is in fact not real. I'm sorry if that's a shock to you all. Instead, it preys on idyllic fantasies present within our subconscious because of years of exposure to popular culture and clever marketing techniques. Shows like Love Island, Too Hot to Handle, and to some extent Survivor and Bear Grylls The Island prey on our fascination with authentic experiences and manufacture this simulation to ally with our deepest wants and desires. The roots of this can be seen as far back as the 1950s, with films like The Admiral Crichton and Swiss Family Robinson all featuring normal people escaping the doldrums of life, becoming at one with nature, and in the case of Swiss Family Robinson, totally murdering so many animals. Like, seriously, look it up. There's a reason you never see Love Island set in the peat bogs of Ireland. We readily associate sweltering heat and sandy beaches with freedom and escape. In the words of Randall Rose and Stacey Wood, reality television provides settings in contexts consonant with consumers' daydreams and imaginations. Basically, people want to be on a beach all the time. Like, why would I want to be in the middle of Scotland experience something like this?
We've made it to Scotland! Holy shit!
When I could be on a beach doing something like this. Now let's flash back to Mr. Beast. Mr. Donaldson provides competitions where real, ordinary people like you or me, massive emphasis on air quotes there, compete in fun, engaging, larger-than-life competitions, all with the goal of winning an incredible, life-changing cash prize. Obviously, no one is believing that videos like this are real life, but the contestant acts as an audience surrogate witnessing these fantastical worlds and settings on their quest for the gold. Jimmy sits as this sadistic onlooker, putting insane obstacles in the way of these contestants, carefully crafting storylines, plot twists, and elaborate narratives, all as a way to get the viewer to feel like we can root for or relate to one of these contestants, and hopefully sit through the entire video to see if they win. His entire purpose on this platform is to trick us into watching more and more, and due to his immense success, so many other clones have spawned in and are doing worse versions of his already scummy formula. However, the added little wrinkle to this is due to the sheer success of these videos, it makes it feel like every other creator on the site feels as though they have to raise their levels in order to compete with this omnipresent engagement devouring titan who spends millions on a daily basis.
Now it's time to take a breather. I can't keep this up. This is my dream job and I have a lot of fun doing it. I know I'm incredibly lucky, but a dream job is still a job, and it's a job that keeps getting bigger and more complicated, and I am so tired. There's nothing in my life right now except work, and it's not like I can drop the quality back down. That's not how YouTube works these days.
And the trick is you are in a system where are there better ways to do it? And is there more wholesome content? Is there stuff that is more substantial? Whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But the algorithm, our brains aren't wired to do that, like to react that way. And for the platforms to, know that and actively move away from it, they are choosing something that hurts their bottom line. The Pandora's box has been opened, and we know that, how to design these things so that way people are in it and they're locked in and they're going to be locked in for hours on end. And it's like, well, if I'm not going to do it, someone else is, and they're going to profit off of it. So you need to figure, what is the solution there? It's tricky. That's the big question. Is there a solution?
This is one of the main reasons that Watcher thought they had to leave YouTube in the first place and set up their own subscription service. They literally had to add another revenue stream because their production costs had got so high because they were spending exorbitant amounts of money on every video when people didn't want that.
Steven, talk about money. Here, what's this price?
You can become a member of Watcher for $5.99 a month or $59.99 a year.
We want to keep the price low enough where anybody and everybody is able to afford it, but it also has to support the things that we do here. So that was the number that just made the most sense for the streamer.
Lindsay Dodgson states that the content on YouTube has now been replaced by a mixture of exceedingly high-end videos only the Mr. Beast of the internet can reach and subpar AI junk thrown together by bots, designed to meet our consumption habits with the least effort possible. At both ends of the scale, we are being manipulated, and somehow someone is benefiting from this. What are we supposed to do? It reminds me of a well-known thought experiment called Robert Nozick's Experience Machine. Plainly put, Nozick offers us the chance to plug into this fantastical machine for the remainder of your days, and it would give you whatever desirable or pleasurable experience you could ever wish for. Want to win Best Picture at the Oscars or any other non-denominational awards ceremony? You bet you can. How about a spot of Olympic gold? Whack that on the CV. The best part, once hooked up, you won't even realise that you'd be forever floating in a tank with electrodes and wires plugged directly into your brain. In a similar vein to the endless stream of garbage available for us to consume at every possible hour of the day, you could continue to rot in bed, and the world's constructed with a Nozick's Experience Machine would align with our deepest wants and desires. Yet, any satisfaction we receive from that reality is completely nominal. Just think about how often you yourself say, I want the latest episode of a show or YouTube series to come out, yet when it does, you feel nothing. That's an over-reliance on dopamine, baby. Frank Hendricks and Igor Duvin went further with this experiment, hypothesizing that people care about being in touch with the reality that is deeper and more important than one that is manufactured, one that is real rather than artificial. Sorry boys, tell that to the 93 million people that watch Mr. Beast's new video. Jesus, I need to start lying in my videos more. I'm not against the very idea of creators releasing merch or subscription services, like make the money you want to make and allow your audience to support you in any way they can. God knows when I was younger I definitely bought like the Sidemen book.
Yeah. See? Oh my god. And this one.
But it has to be done in the right way and more importantly for the right reasons.
And they've produced a lunchbox called Lunchly, which to me, I think this should be illegal. Like, this is one thing that should be heavily regulated, is like food products to children. Before there was some
Fiesta
kind
nachos
of like deniability, you know, where they could be like, no, we're not targeting exactly children. It's like, no, this is literally kids' lunch.
Obviously.
Serving them horrible food. For what reason? You don't care about food. Feastables is not enough. These men need more money.
You're already a multi-millionaire. It's so sad.
It's the kind of thing where we could tomorrow, farm it out to some third-party person.
You could crank something out.
We could crank something out.
You could go full Ninja Turtles here with like jet lag bed sheets and jet lag backpacks.
So like we don't want to lose trust with the audience by putting out a mediocre board game, which you play like 3 times because it's jet lag, and then you put in the closet and never do again. So we want to do these things, but we only want to do that when we're sure that it's going to be like really good, basically.
Putting out a shitty cache the check anything, the worst thing you could do. I don't think that the move for you guys would be to do anything that is pure capitalization.
In comparison to the nightmare of a launch that Watcher's streaming service endured, sites like Nebula, Dropout, and to some extent Side Plus and Beacon sit as shining examples of what to do if the opportunity to leave the platform presents itself to you. Focus on your audience. Cough, with the main focus here being Dropout, because sorry to the other streamer services, I'm not too familiar with your game. Don't get angry at me. I'm going to see myself out now, and past Henry will talk to you. Dropout produced some of the best content available on any platform to watch at the moment, like better than some of the things you'd find on the magical little box. And similarly to Watcher, they had to make the move from YouTube to all in on subscription services to keep their business afloat. Although they may have started with next to nothing, they didn't overextend themselves. They made smart business decisions and constantly catered to the very niche and very die-hard audience that they garnered over the years. Even now, as they boast a subscriber count around the mid to high 6 figures, and they recently garnered buzz about an Emmy nomination, they will constantly talk down upon themselves.
I started running College Humor's video team 10 years ago when I looked like this. Gross.
It's been a long road. It's taken a lot of luck, good timing, and viral TikTok game changer clips, not to mention patient, ethical, and responsible. Sam, can we talk about the new merch? I don't know that we're 100% appreciating the irony of this.
It's like Netflix, but worse. And cheaper.
Similarly to the quote from Duvin and Hendrix, people flock to the platform because of its authenticity, because of its realism. Unlike Mr. Beast, they don't rely on meticulously constructed plot lines, twisting cliffhangers and last-minute betrayal. Well, unless they're playing Survivor. They put a bunch of funny and talented people in a room, put someone in a pinstripe suit in the corner, and that is it. That's the game. In a similar vein to the snapping crocodiles in the Animal Kingdom, audiences sit back and enjoy the show. You would assume that once creators have made the big leap from YouTube to mainstream media, that it's plain sailing from here on out. Like, they've made a name for themselves once, they can do it again, right? But there's just one more monumental obstacle standing in their way before they can do that. You. It's not as bad as it sounds. I'm not calling you monumental. This is why I write things on a script. When creators make the transition from here to here, one of the contributing factors to their eventual downfall comes from the shifting relationships they now have with their audience. Yes, I did make $5 million in my most recent endeavour, yet I'm trying to stay grounded for all of you out there. Starbucks queues, am I right? Like I mentioned in the last section, one of the main reasons for YouTube's immense success over the past decade was, in the words of Crystal Aberdeen, due to the perceived interconnectedness that underpinned the effective bonds between influencers and their followers, generated through intimate revelations of the vloggers' everyday lives. Basically, people can be hella parasocial. On YouTube, the content creation process can be quite a personalised one. You'll be sat in your room trying to think of ideas that you're interested in, but also ones that you think will resonate with a select bunch of people that you've never met, but who've committed their personal time to watching the dumb things that you've created. You'll brainstorm the video, write the video, light the video, film the video, color correct the video, edit the video, make a stupid little title and thumbnail for the video, putting hundreds of hours into an incredibly solitary process, all with the end goal of potentially making some people that you do not know happy. Most of the time, that is not the case. Just look at the comment section of my last video. But you just pick yourselves up, brush yourself off, and you go again. If you say that someone's favourite Marvel movie is bad and they choose to threaten you, you just keep on going with your life. But when you shift into this entirely new machine, you go from being your own editor, your own writer, your own brand, to another cog in an already bloated organisation. Reporting to so many different people, all of which should be on the same page, but quite a lot of the time, they all want different things from the project. Like, this may not even be your own decision, you might still want to be involved in all that stuff, you're just having to spin so many different plates at the same time and being pulled in so many different directions that you have to let go of a few things. You are now the star of the show. These people rely on you. It's not just your neck on the chopping block, it's all of these people's careers. A famous example of this came from March in 2019, where NBC announced announced that YouTuber Superwoman or Lily Singh would be getting their own talk show called A Little Late with Lily Singh. I don't think it can be understated how big of a content creator Lily was in YouTube's earliest days. And more importantly, they were in epic rap battles of history. So that's when you know you've made it in life. Yet when she shifted into this entirely new world, things felt a little bit different. Is probably the best way to put it.
Lily Singh's talk show is bad.
Now, Macy, it's lit. It's lit, y'all.
The show didn't really know what it wanted to be, and it definitely didn't make use of its host and the audience they'd garnered over the years. But here's the kicker. Naturally, you would assume the fault lies at the host of the show or the writers who are making those terrible jokes. But it's actually the fault of NBC. You know, the company that hired her in the first place and presumably wanted her to succeed.
And this is the stuff that was written for you, or that you
Written
wrote?
for me, but I also have to say it's not the writer's fault. My writers were very funny. My writer's room was half the size of every other show.
And it was so, how many episodes were you shooting a day?
2 to 3 episodes a day. Most late night shows shoot 1 a day.
Wait, why were you shooting 2 to 3 a day?
Because we had to shoot 96 episodes in 3 months because of our budget.
Shooting 3 episodes in 1 day. That is insane. Do you know how long it takes for me to write these scripts? And I've had many of you tell me that I'm just the absolute least funny person you've ever met in your entire life. And these are jokes that I've written over the course of weeks. Can you imagine what it would be like if I had to produce 3 episodes a day? With people coming up to me saying that their livelihood depends on them, and if I can't make the ha-has, the whole show completely disappears. I write so many jokes about but that's the thing, as audiences, we don't see behind the curtain. We aren't privy to the conversation between Lily and her writer's room.
The amount of times I would be on the late night set and walking towards my monologue mark, and I would talk to my producer and I'd be like, just so we're on the same page, both of us know this is not funny. Like, I'm gonna go out there and really pretend it's funny, but I know it's not funny.
We just see a creator as a figurehead of a show and assume it will probably be the same as the content they put on YouTube, but that's like never the case. Another more infamous example of this came from the absolute onslaught of YouTuber-centric movies in the mid to late 2010s that definitely littered bargain bins and Christmas presents from your grandparents all over the globe. With such glittering entries into the cinematic canon as that terrible Logan Paul movie, that terrible Logan Paul movie, that third terrible Logan Paul movie, a film that was pirated so much it caused KSI to verbally attack his audience.
Like, why the f are you tweeting me this? Tell me where you live so I can find you and piss on you. And then I'm gonna slap you, steal money off you, use that money to buy the DVD, and I'm gonna beat the DVD on your head.
And a film so bad that it signaled the downfall of one of YouTube's biggest mainstays and a lifelong friendship.
There was a first draft of the Smosh the Movie script that was horrendous.
It was trying to guess what Smosh was from an outsider's perspective who had no idea what Smosh was.
But all of this is to say that the difference between projects like Laid in America, Airplane Mode, Smosh the Movie, A Little Late with Lily Singh, and let's say 8th Grade, Inside, Don't Hug Me I'm Scared, In Space with Markiplier, A Heights with Markiplier, and even, God damn it, Don't Get Angry at Me. This is an example that I've got to use. Logan Paul in the WWE. I feel awful for saying that. Boils down to that simple point. Intentions. For all the horrendous things that Logan Paul has said, done, tweeted, I think we have to admit that he's quite good at WWE. One of the reasons that Logan's transition into the WWE worked so well is because he's got a background in wrestling and athleticism, he's a natural showman, he's good at playing a villain, presumably because he actually is one, and people love seeing this happen to him. So a transition from being a villain on YouTube to being a villain in the ring felt much smoother for his audience. Because I know you're going to be angry if I use Logan Paul as a linchpin for an argument, so I'm going to use someone who's a bit more universally liked as well. Another great example of this is Markiplier, whose upcoming film Iron Lung follows the success of his 2 choose-your-own-adventure narrative films that he released for YouTube Premium, along with the incredible backlog that he has of narrative, storytelling-focused pieces. Another reason why this works is that Markiplier has a background in playing horror games like Iron Lung, which is where he found out about the game. So the transition from video that go here to video that play here works. In contrast, A Little Late with Lily Singh clearly isn't something that she's been working on for years, pouring her heart and soul into and brainstorming with a team of many people. She even admits that she did not watch late night TV growing up. how is this going to be a success? A company approached her. She initially rejected it. They then came back to her. Her team told her that it was a good career move for her, so she took the opportunity, which again, I'm not saying is a bad thing because she's now getting to work with the Muppets, which is like my life goal because I sort of sound like one. But as the audience watching it, it doesn't seem genuine because it's so out of left field from what we would normally expect from this creator. It's like what Ian and Anthony were on about when they were talking about the Smosh movie, how executives would look at their content and try and make an assumption or guesstimation of what it was from an outside perspective. These people were coming up to them seeing that they had this golden goose egg of however many subscribers on YouTube and thought, you know what, those subscribers might transition to over here. But unless there's like a connective link between the two pieces, it's never gonna work. Now, with all that I've said so far, you may be getting the impression that I don't think it's possible for a YouTuber to leave this site. That once you post one video on the platform, your soul is eternally chained to the YouTube homepage until you do one too many Raid Shadow Legends ad reads and you crumble to dust. So where do we go from here?
I'm wondering why everybody at the same time is sort of feeling the same thing. And I wonder if it even is the same thing, because this is my experience and I don't want to say like, oh, gaming's not what it used to be, or the algorithm's tougher than it's ever been, or things are too idea driven more so than just naturalistic. I'm like, I don't know if that's just me or if it's the whole platform as a whole.
You're not just numbers. You're not just ad impressions. You're not just merch sales. What you have done for me is special. It's special.
As I alluded to all the way back at the start of the video, the idea of this site one day challenging the meteoric titan that was traditional television and mainstream media seemed almost laughable. But now we're at a point in time where, as consumers, our ability to consume vast catalogues of content far surpasses what was possible for generations before us. Instead of being satiated with prime-time viewing through select time slots, audiences now wish for content on demand. They want to get lost in vast worlds and sweeping narratives, all at the press of a button or a few swipes on their phone. This is why some people like Forbes journalist Bob McKay think that the very idea of traditional television is dead and that it's hard to argue otherwise. YouTube and any other platform reliant upon user-generated content can offer consumers endless catalogues of content in a similar vein to Nozik's experience machine, scratching every possible itch a consumer or audience member could hope to imagine. Like seriously, search anything on YouTube, there's gonna be something. The aesthetic may be more amateurish than that of traditional television and mainstream media, but it's a part of its charm. In a world of saturation and excess where everybody and anybody has the potential to create and make something and give it to a wide audience, where streaming and traditional media just continue to roll out garbage stinker after garbage stinker and expect us to gobble it up, people will continue to yearn for content that is genuine or authentic. But it was only a matter of time before the rot started to set in. In the words of Judith Mayer and Silke Becker, our society is characterised by fakeness in a fast-paced media environment of chat shows and reality TV, where the real, whatever that may be, has been replaced by pretending and acting as if. YouTube as a platform relies on this unholy nightmare of a thing that's called an algorithm, presenting content that this unnamed beast thinks that we'll enjoy, because at the end of the day, all YouTube wants is for us to stay on their site for as long as physically possible. This was only amplified by, okay, I'm going to say a word here that you don't want me to say and will not enjoy me saying, lockdown, as streaming sites and traditional television soared record viewerships as people were looking for older, more authentic content catalogues to give them any source of joy in a day, at a point in history where the main source of joy you could have in your life was a nice cup of tea. But as is the case with algorithmic content, once you figure out the basic workings of it, you can manipulate it or gamify it. This is why content from Mr. Beast and his clones absolutely floods the site. It's manipulating the algorithm by ticking boxes that YouTube wants to be ticked in order to keep people on the site. Because if you weren't aware of it, there's a mystical number of factors that a video sort of has to tick off in order to do well. Because of this, creators understandably have started to feel a little bit jaded or detached from the site that they've spent a majority of their lives on.
This has been a literal third of my life.
The draw to me was like, I saw other people doing it and I was like, oh, I can do that. And I think that the thing that I don't like about Mr. Beast kind of content, there is so much money involved. It's just a very unattainable thing, which
At some point, it may seem as though no matter what high horse that you stand upon, that eventually you will have to bend to the whims of the algorithm. You have to evolve or go extinct, right? But what if that wasn't the case? With all that I've been talking about throughout this video and how we're all in a situation of doom and gloom, you can actually see the pendulum starting to sort of swing back towards authentic content on YouTube at the moment, with this presumably being a direct response to the hellish landscape that we've all had to trudge through recently. People are clearly wanting something different. You've got channels like Ryan Trahan and Jetlag producing high quality content with incredibly simplistic filming techniques. Dropout is just releasing heater after heater. Smosh is thriving again, which makes it feel like the internet is finally healing. And even in my neck of the woods, the Sidemen have started shifting their content towards being a bunch of friends doing a bunch of dumb stuff together, rather than being Mr. Beast with a history of hidden colonial atrocities in our shared ancestry. Creators will continue to leave this site, setting up streaming services that may fail on launch, be incredibly overpriced, or they just won't release any content on, and selling chocolate bars, energy drinks, and toys all as a way to inflate their personal wealth. But that's the way of the world. We're not going to be here forever. You do realise that one day you're going to wake up and see the last Minecraft video that you're ever going to watch. You do know that, right?